Have you ever wondered why a global superpower with thousands of nuclear warheads and the world's largest defense budget formally orders its citizens to sit down and surrender their social dignity to a bowl of tiny, wrinkly, colorful seeds right before celebrating their nation's birth? It sounds like an absolute fever dream, but on the 3rd of July, right before Americans launch millions of dollars of fireworks into the sky for Independence Day, the entire country pulls off a massive collective U-turn in modern lifestyle and participates in National Eat Your Beans Day. You might look at this and think it is just another boring corporate-sponsored wellness stunt invented by some grocery store cartel to trick people into clearing out old inventory. But the historical data reveals an absolute plot twist that will leave you with your mouth wide open. This seemingly innocent, healthy summer tradition is actually tied to an ancient geopolitical legacy dating back 9,000 years and a biochemical conspiracy that modern stomach infrastructure still completely fails to process, and an unhinged historical body count that 99% of Americans living today have absolutely no clue about. We are talking about a food so powerful that it sustained global empires through catastrophic economic collapses, yet so unhinged that it became the literal mortal enemy of some of the greatest mathematical minds in Western civilization. If you look into the official government records to find out which specific chaotic genius signed National Eat Your Beans Day into law, you will immediately hit a brick wall. Modern historical research has come up completely empty-handed, and the exact creator remains totally anonymous. But the truth-based evidence points to a much bigger picture. The United States has weaponized this particular day as the ultimate pre-holiday ritual because of a magnificent culinary loophole. On the eve of July 4th, while suburban backyards are being prepared for massive meat smoking sessions, the real operational hero is the slow-cooked bean pod. The American food industry thrives on this. This celebration became a staple because these tiny legumes function like flavor-absorbing parasites. When you throw black, pinto, or kidney beans into a heavy pot and simmer them with heavy blocks of garlic, chopped onions, molasses, and bacon fat under the blazing summer sun, they do not just cook, they pull off a complete flavor heist, soaking up every single ounce of greasy, savory goodness around them until they become culinary gold. Take the chickpea, which the modern internet loves to hype up as the ultimate super snack. A single cooked cup of these garbanzo powerhouses slams your body with 12.5 grams of absolute fiber, 71% of your daily recommended intake of folate, and 26% of your iron. It is a biological cheat code for your bloodstream. Then you have lentils and split peas, which act like the tactical snipers of the kitchen shelf. Their microscopic scale allows for a hyperspeed flash cook, meaning a lazy person can turn a boring weekday soup into a high-protein survival meal in less than 20 minutes flat. But don't let the nutritional charts pull off a quick scam on your perception. Ancient humanity did not just look at beans as a clean fitness macro. The relationship between human society and the bean is an absolute chronological thriller that started in the early 7th millennium before the Common Era. That means beans were being engineered and domesticated by human hands before the invention of the wheel, before the creation of formal writing systems, and long before the first stone block of the pyramids was ever hauled through the sand. They're one of the longest cultivated crops in the entire history of terrestrial agriculture. They fed the builders of ancient empires and sustained the Roman legions during high-intensity military marches across Europe. However, everything went completely into the ground when ancient intellectual celebrities decided to overthink things right away. Let's talk about the father of geometry himself, the Greek math superstar who gave you triangle formulas that caused you severe headaches in high school, whom we will call Old Man Pythagoras. The history textbooks always paint this guy as a very serious, stoic academic who spent his entire existence quietly staring at lines, angles, and cosmic harmonies in total peace and quiet. But the absolute unhinged truth is that Old Man Pythagoras was a deeply paranoid, cult-leading mystic who considered the humble fava bean to be his absolute arch-enemy in every single way. He established a highly restrictive philosophical compound where his inner circle had to swear a blood oath to never, under any circumstances, eat a bean, look at a bean, or even walk near a bean field. Right about now, you're probably thinking this genius had completely lost his mind, and you would be entirely correct, because he looked at a beanstalk and noticed it was completely hollow inside. His head then engineered an absolute conspiracy theory that beans were a literal mystical pipeline connecting the surface world directly to the deep depths of hell. He convinced his entire following that when a human being passes away, their departing soul travels down through the topsoil and gets trapped inside the growing pods of fava beans. To his cult, eating a bean salad was not a healthy vegetarian option at all times. It was literal, direct cannibalism of your dead ancestors, which he publicly stated to everyone around him. If you took a bean, chewed it into a pulp with your teeth right then, and left that mash out in the midday sun, it would start emitting the distinct odor of human gore. His anti-legume paranoia was so extreme that it eventually led to the ultimate historical comedy of errors. A local political rivalry boiled over, and an angry mob formed quickly, chasing old man Pythag out of his estate while he was sprinting for his life, easily outbreathing his out-of-shape attackers until he suddenly skidded to a dead stop in the road. Right in front of his face was a massive thriving field of fava beans right there. Instead of running straight through the green leaves to save his own skin at that moment, old man Pythag stood on the dirt road, stared at the vegetables, and decided right then that stepping on a human soul was a far greater tragedy than getting assassinated by anyone, and calmly waited on the spot until his pursuers caught up and slit his throat immediately. He literally took a permanent exit from reality because he refused to cross a vegetable patch. You might look back at that ancient Greek math circle and laugh at how deep their ignorance was, but modern biochemistry recently pulled off a massive plot twist that proves everything. The universe operates on pure irony. It turns out that old man Pythag's unhinged fear of beans was actually an accidental genetic lifesaver for his specific group of followers back then. A very large percentage of the human population living around the Mediterranean basin carried a distinct genetic mutation known today as a deficiency in the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme inside their human bodies. When an individual with this specific DNA layout ingests a fava bean, the chemical compounds inside the seed trigger a full-blown red blood cell apocalypse inside their cardiovascular system right away. Their red blood cells literally rupture and dissolve in a terrifying process called acute hemolytic anemia, leading to severe illness, organ failure, and rapid death for any person affected by this condition. Old man Pythag had absolutely no access to microscopes or genetic sequencing tech at the time, but he possessed excellent pattern recognition, which allowed him to see what was happening around town. He noticed that whenever the local village held a bean festival, a handful of people would turn yellow and drop dead on the spot. Since he could not explain genetic enzyme deficiencies, he did what any self-respecting ancient influencer would do by blaming the supernatural forces around them, claimed the plants were haunted by the dead, and saved his cult from a major medical emergency through total superstition, which brings us right back to the modern American landscape today, where we have managed to erase ancient spiritual taboos, yet we remain completely defenseless against them, against the bean's ultimate biological weapon, which is the unavoidable internal gas turbine inside your gut. Everyone watching this knows exactly what happens to a room's atmosphere roughly 3 hours after a crowd finishes off a giant bowl of black bean chili. It is an absolute law of nature, but the actual evolutionary science behind why the human body completely loses control here of its lower tract after eating a bean is a masterpiece of biological trolling for everyone. Beans are packed to the absolute brim with complex carbohydrates known as oligosaccharides across the world, specifically raffinose and stachyose. These sugar molecules are structurally built like reinforced titanium bunkers. In reality, the human stomach acid cannot melt them, and the human small intestine, despite millions of years of evolutionary upgrades, produces absolutely zero enzymes capable of breaking down these specific molecular chains. When you swallow a spoonful of baked pinto beans, your upper digestive system looks at them, these oligosaccharides, completely panics, gives up on the spot, and shuffles them down into deep caverns of your large intestine completely intact. This is where the real disaster movie begins, right now. Your large intestine is a high-density empire populated by trillions of hungry microscopic bacteria eating food. To these microbes, an undigested oligosaccharide is not a difficult chemical problem at all for them. It is the equivalent of a free 5-star all-you-can-eat luxury buffet for every single microbe. The bacteria immediately swarm the sugar structures and launch into a hyperspeed fermentation inside. They are eating, reproducing, and throwing a massive biochemical rave inside your body right this minute. And what is the primary industrial waste product of a bacterial rave happening right now? Gas. Massive, high-pressure, unstoppable plumes of hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and highly flammable methane gas inside your gut. Your internal plumbing expands like a cheap birthday balloon, and since human flesh is not designed to pop, your system has no choice but to vent that pressure through a series of dramatic acoustic events that have disrupted formal social gatherings since the dawn of humanity on Earth. Now, while your gut bacteria are down there hosting a high-intensity chemical rave inside the body and turning your lower tract into a ticking acoustic time bomb, the rest of the United States is busy turning this biological disaster into a full-blown competitive art form across the nation. This is exactly where the absolute modern, unhinged energy of National Eat Your Beans Day reaches its absolute peak. You see, normal societies would look at a food that causes immediate social isolation and think, hey, maybe we should keep this quiet. But not the American backyard barbecue culture. No, these people looked at a legume that causes literal internal explosions and decided to turn it into the grand opening act for the nation's biggest holiday celebration of the year. Because this bizarre celebration falls exactly on July 3rd, it has accidentally become a mandatory tactical warm-up for Independence Day. While suburban dads across the country are polishing their metal grills outside and stacking coal bags for the 4th of July, their families are already inside the house downing massive plates of baked pinto beans, completely aware that the official holiday fireworks are going to start 24 hours early under their own bedsheets. It is a beautiful, chaotic display of pure freedom, specifically the freedom to completely ruin the air quality of your own household tonight. But if you look at the official operational manual for how the internet and small town communities tell you to observe this day, the level of absolute nonsense goes completely off the charts. The official holiday guidelines seriously suggest that instead of just cooking them for dinner, you should use raw dried beans to teach small human individuals how to perform basic mathematics. Yes, out of all the advanced educational technologies available in the 21st century, the top recommendation is to sit a tiny human down at a wooden table and make them count piles of kidney beans. Even better, the manual insists that July 3rd is the perfect time to grab a bottle of liquid glue, smear it across a piece of cheap cardboard, and press various colored beans onto it to create abstract bean art for your kitchen wall today. Think about the sheer historical disrespect happening here. You are a legendary ancient superfood from history. Your ancestral pods literally sustained the construction crews of the pyramids, fueled the Roman legions during high-stakes geopolitical invasions, and kept human society from collapsing during the Great Depression long ago. Fast forward 9,000 years and your ultimate evolutionary destiny is to get stuck onto a piece of construction paper with washable school glue by a chaotic toddler in Ohio who is trying to draw a picture of a dog. That is a complete developmental demotion for this crop. If you think the arts and crafts side of this holiday is wild, the actual culinary experiments people broadcast on the internet on July 3rd will make you turn around and question the sanity of modern food influencers. The traditionalists, of course, stick to the heavy comfort classics. They take black beans, pinto beans, or kidney beans, lock them inside a cast iron pot, and let them simmer for 6 hours straight under a blazing sun all day long. These three bean variants are the ultimate flavor-absorbing parasites of the plant world in modern agriculture. They sit inside a boiling stew like a sponge, completely robbing the pot of every single molecule of garlic, onion, smoked pork fat, and dark brown sugar you throw at them until they are incredibly rich they can stop a human heart from 3 feet away easily. But then you have the trend-chasing modern health crowd, and that's where things get truly weird. These people grab fresh fava beans, smash them into a paste inside a high-speed blender, mix it with pungent goat cheese and raw garlic blocks, and call it a gourmet summer dip. Or they take black beans, toss in zesty lime juice and cumin, and whip up a dark hummus that looks like literal swamp mud, but tastes like an absolute masterpiece to everyone who tries it. Meanwhile, the fitness influencers are out in full force on social media, aggressively dumping chilled kidney beans and green edamame into raw kale bowls, completely desperate to activate an instant high-fiber protein injection right before swimsuit season kicks off across the entire country. The entire internet gets flooded with millions of people spamming pictures of their bean experiments online, turning the digital space into a massive virtual recipe book that you can practically smell through your smartphone screen right now. But the most shocking aspect of this global bean empire is the massive corporate illusion happening right on your local grocery store shelves when you walk inside. You see rows upon rows of metal cans stretching into the distance under fluorescent lights everywhere, giving you the illusion of infinite choice. But according to global agricultural data, there are approximately 40,000 completely distinct varieties of known beans scattered across the surface of the planet Earth. 40,000 different shapes, wild color combinations, and prehistoric survival traits that you can find out there. Yet our hyper-industrialized mass production system only grows and packages a tiny microscopic fraction of that biodiversity. The corporate supply chain has basically locked away 99% of the bean kingdom, forcing the entire population of the planet to cycle through the same 5 or 6 commercial variants over and over again for eternity across every single grocery store chain available. We are standing on top of an absolute evolutionary goldmine of botanical diversity, but our modern corporate infrastructure has decided that humanity only deserves to eat pinto, black, kidney, chickpea, and lentil. It is a complete corporate monopoly over our dinner plates. So when you finally sit down at a summer barbecue table this week, look past the juicy meat, skip the soda cans, and stare directly into that heavy pot of bean stew. Look at those tiny, glossy, wrinkly seeds and see them for what they truly are. They are not a boring, healthy option at all. They are an elite 9,000-year-old biological mastermind that completely outlived the pharaohs of Egypt, survived the total collapse of the Roman Empire, successfully executed a lethal ambush on the greatest mathematician of ancient Greece, completely broke the digestive enzymes of modern human biology, and somehow managed to trick the most powerful nuclear superpower on Earth into dedicating an entire formal calendar day to celebrating an absolute festival of internal gas across the whole country. Now, Old Man Pyth literally allowed his throat to be cut rather than step on a single pod. The entire modern agricultural supply chain revolves around their storage, and your gut microbes are currently organizing a high-volume chemical strike under your blankets because of them right this very minute. Enjoy the national holiday fireworks, because whether you watch them explode in the night sky overhead or experience them exploding in your own living room, the bean empire has officially won the war for human survival. Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments section below right now about which bean variety is currently causing a geopolitical crisis inside your own stomach today. Or leave a question if you think your internal organs can handle the upcoming July 4th onslaught.